we are recording now. It's live. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is the Mirrorless Podcast, our episode number 1. My name is David.
And my name is Miguel.
And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about trusting the process, and particularly with our journey of photography. And we'll go a little bit about who we are too as photographers. So first I figured we'd probably introduce who we are. Now Miguel is a photographer who deals a lot with sports. He does some portrait work and he will do some wedding work on the side. But you want to give us a little bit about, your Instagram and what you do and everything?
So my Instagram is MIG_04, and I'm a sports/portrait lifestyle photographer. I've been doing pictures for about 3 years now, and we'll get into the rest of it.
Cool. So my name is David, as I said, and I'm with Conspire Visuals. I also have a personal account with D Zelez on Instagram, and I do more portrait and landscape photography. It kind of depends, but I do own a company that kind of varies in everything from different live production to wedding photography to commercial work and product work. So I've definitely gone a little bit wider in my spectrum instead of centralizing on one particular aspect of it. But it's been a lot of fun so far, and I've been doing it, I think, for about 3 or 4 years. I think it's been. So how did you get into photography?
We're starting off with me.
Yeah, let's start with you.
Cool. So for my kind of journey, I've always been into like high quality photos. Like even when I got my smartphone, iPhone, whatever you want to call it, I always like took like a nice picture, edited it, stuff like that. And then I after that really got into a GoPro.
I remember that
was my first and kind of like start into photography when we went on that trip to California. And we'll show you some pictures from that trip. But literally just took it on a GoPro, and then after about maybe a year, I saved it for our DSLR and then been doing that ever since. Yeah.
And I know we'll get into later, but what are you working with the DSLR?
Nikon D750 right now.
All right, cool. I know with me, let's see, as far as getting into photography, it was really just by chance. Me and another friend went out to go for a hike. He had just bought a camera, and we were taking pictures, and he's like, hey, we should do something with this and kind of make an Instagram account and post them online. So that's where it started off. Another friend of mine lent me their DSLR, and I was working with that for a while, was getting pretty far into it, and I'll show you one of the pictures I took with that camera, oddly enough. And then from there on, went up to a Canon 80D and just kind of grown from there. So
yeah,
it's been pretty good. So what was the topic you wanted to talk about today? It's a controversial one between the two of us.
The topic is trusting the process.
Okay. So my question is, what is the process to you? What is this about?
It's funny because I feel like I've always been into trusting the process and just like that slogan. And like obviously there's more meaning behind it than just trusting the process. But like simply it's just like you have an end goal in mind and you just know you're going to hit bumps, hit setbacks. Expect those and just be okay with it and continue to progress with that end goal still in mind. I think a lot of it goes into, just the way I work, so to speak. Like I think with myself, just like taking slow steps and slowly reaching that goal. And like you'll get there eventually, but the main thing is just like to progress and just trust that process. And like with me personally, I've felt that I've become like, you trust it, you like love the process, and you just become obsessed with the process, because like when you look at your old photos and see like the improvement, it's like, oh man, like let's keep going instead of comparing yourself to others, you know what I'm saying? So that's my motto. I just trust the process and just let it run its course.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll first just start off and say it. I'm not crazy about the phrase, but I think it's because you use it so much it annoys the crap.
But I don't think you're a very like phrase type of guy though. Like I know there's a lot of phrases you're like, no, I don't like it. Like, yeah, I just feel like because some things like don't make sense to you, and like it's fine.
Yeah, and I think it's not only just because you use it, but I feel a lot of other people use it, and not so much you, but I feel like a lot of people use it in a way that it doesn't apply. I feel like they're just saying a catchphrase, oh, we'll trust the process, which to me, I did a little research on it because I figured, why am I going to go into the subject without knowing, what it's about? And so I would say that there was things about it that I do agree with, obviously, and there's things about it that I just like feel like, okay, but I wouldn't just throw it in there as that's how it's going to be my motto. So when I was looking at it, some of the things that you kind of brought out was, knowing that you're going to come up against obstacles and knowing that that can't stop you from where you're trying to get to, because there is an end goal. And one of the other things I liked about it too was actually talking about stepping out of your comfort zone, which to me is a big thing that you need to do in order to progress. Is if you never challenge yourself, if you never step out of where you are at the current time, you're never going to reach that next level. So I do agree with that. But I feel like it's also something that you could put more work into, and you don't have to trust so much the process, but you can trust yourself. And I know this is where we've kind of like gotten into it a little bit, as far as an example, a case in point is you can go to a shoot, find out on the shoot like, oh, I don't have this, or oh, I don't know how to do this, or something like of that nature. And I would spend a little bit more time researching the subject, figuring out more how other people have made their mistakes, and I can be that much better prepared for it. But in the end, you have to be confident that your result is going to be good no matter how much gear you have or don't have, or how you can improve yourself. And so I think it's...
So you're kind of like on the fence about it.
Yeah,
like,
I think,
like me personally, I just don't think you're like big fan of like phrases. So like it's like you're kind of with it, but you're kind of not, just because like you're like kind of finding yourself fighting against it, but at the same time you do somewhat agree with it.
I think if you know me in general, I'm a person that doesn't like to be inside the box. So obviously I'm not going to just kind of follow the sheep on it. You're not a very cliche person. Yeah, I try not to be. But then sometimes you see my pictures and you're like, that's about as cliche as it comes. But the one thing I did like about it though was kind of the key phrase I got with it was rise above the circumstances, because no matter what you face, you're just going to have to handle the situation best you can. And then the other thing was just creating a plan and sticking to it. And I liked that idea. So kind of the next question to that, which is very related, and I think we might have answered it, was, do you trust the process?
For me, yeah.
And
I
live
by it. Like I said, like I trust it. Like you fall in love with the process, and then you just become obsessed with it. And like the end goal is just to continue to get better. So it's just like, if that's your goal, like that's what it is, you know? And I just love it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that there's going to be, as with everything, you have to just take it with a grain of salt. You have to say, what does this apply to me, and how can I make it work in my scenario? And then there's other things like, this isn't what works with me. I have to do something different. And you kind of have to find what works for you. Maybe that's part of the process. Who knows? Yeah. So, I can't say it's a complete no, but for me, I feel like you can always be better prepared, and you're only going to get out of any project what you put into it. All right, so now we're going to actually see a little bit about how our process has come along by kind of reviewing some of our older photographs and seeing when we look at it, what mistakes we made, or kind of like, how we could have improved, or how we actually did really, really good at that point, and if it was by chance, or did we actually know what we were doing. But what's the first one that you got?
So I have the first one that I actually took with your camera on our trip, I believe.
Oh, really?
It's this one. As you can see, it does say Canon, so
yeah.
Would never catch me dead with it.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Apparently
but
you did.
But it's funny. So like, I took this picture with your camera and then edited it on my.
What's weird though? What's that extra little mirror?
Well, it's the rental car. The rental car that we rented. So this is like
that's
just
in the middle of Nevada desert.
I think we were driving through the desert, and I was just like, we were driving, and I just happened to take this picture and edit it on my phone, and I was like, at the time I was like, dude, this is sick. But like,
cliche.
I kind of did go through a trend where I was taking these types of photos. I don't know if you remember, but like just through the mirror, driver, passenger window, boom.
I'm gonna. It's funny. I think we're gonna get into more of these, because I've seen. I did kind of peruse some of your older videos, or photos, but that has like so much contrast on it.
Yeah,
like, I feel like you love.
And even
contrast.
like if you zoom in, like you can see the grain on it. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's just like. But that's like literally when I was beginning, it was just like 100 clarity. Boom. I was like, dope. Like, so.
Which it is funny, because that's, I think, the middle of the day. Like, we started driving at like 9 o'clock. So that, like, it's bright as day. You didn't really need to have
it was more like a monotone feel, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's still a good photo, though. I mean, it's not
I thought
bad.
it was pretty cool. I think it's on my Instagram somewhere.
Yeah. So this one is actually one of the first portraits I ever took. And it was in that whole thing of the, the phase where they had the fairy lights kind of in the background and everything. And I think there was one picture, I forget who did it, if it was like Brandon Wolfel or Tom Dubois or Du, I always mess up his name. But anyhow, he did a picture of like the lights coming out of the book, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So we set it up, she came over. I set up the lights on the tree in the background, got the bokeh. I think overall it turned out pretty good. It was actually
that's pretty cool.
It was kind of funny because it was like 3 or 4 other photographers there, all trying to like work with the picture, and like they were, I don't know, I kind of set the scene up. I had this book or whatever, but it turned out decent. I got the lights reflected, and I mean, at that time I really didn't realize how glasses can reflect so much and kind of change things, but it worked out good because I wanted it to look. If you look in the picture, this is kind of like really going into detail. You see a lot of more multicolored lights in her glasses, and you don't really see them in the rest of the frame. So it kind of worked out. I think I had the multicolored lights because you see. I think probably
like
more
bokeh in the
background, and that's before
like
I really got
cool.
into Photoshop where I could have added all that in.
That's
but
true.
Again, you look at it now, and I feel like it's a little dark too because her hair just blends, like the rest of everything just blends in the background.
It's actually funny you mentioned that because like there's an old picture of Brent that I took, and I did Photoshop a bunch of bokeh balls, like, and they're like back in the day, and I was like, dude, this is sick.
I think somewhere on my
like,
computer
oh my
I actually
goodness.
have files of bokeh lights in the background that I was like, oh, I can always put these somewhere. But it never looks natural to me when I do it. I see other people do it, and I was like, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But overall, not bad though. I'm okay with it.
All right, photo number 2 for me. It was like a buggy, I guess, and actually, I don't know what I did.
I know where this is. This is in front of Milford Photo. We were like walking out of there, and you're like, "Oh, a buggy," and I'm like, "Dude, it's a VW bug," and you were so excited.
But it was like very retro, right? It's very retro. So I was like, dude, and I don't even remember what happened, but I think this might have been like one of my like presets I just happened to like save, like my first like developed preset. Learned how to do it, right?
I'm gonna rank on you a little bit. I know what happened is that you didn't know how to control that brush feature. You painted half the car
so
black.
I don't know what I was doing
blue.
though. It's just so funny that like because the car is completely blue. There's
but
no
you
like
never
haze.
posted that picture. I think you posted a picture of that bug, but not that picture.
Yeah, this was a funny one though. Like just you can see the edges like just totally gone.
The brush just went right over it.
I try. You ever do that? Like the foreground is colored, the background's all black and white. So actually, I think I was kind of going for that.
I think I'll show that next picture. The exact same premise. Yep. But I mean, it's cool. If you would have gotten the whole blue to pop out, I think it would have been dope because you also have some kind of light coming down here.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like,
honestly, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I just went for it. I think I'll move on to that picture too. Actually, I thought I took a picture of it. Maybe I didn't. Well, we'll move on to another one. Actually, no. This one I was actually very, very proud of this picture because I had a Canon 60D. Which, if you know that camera, it doesn't really have very good ISO. Decent camera to begin with, but I was messing with long exposure, and I was able to go down to here. The lighting was perfect, and I got this shot. And I actually went back later because
that's long exposure.
Long exposure, I feel like I was at like 30 seconds. Like it was. I didn't know much about long exposure, so I went long exposure and went.
It's
like
kind of cool because there's like a ripple right there that
because there was a whirlpool where the water kind of swirled around, and you wouldn't notice it in real life, but it came into the picture and it was really cool. But I liked the picture so much that I actually went down to the town library and noticed that people had taken pictures of this exact same scene.
Yeah, it's a nice spot.
And not to sound like conceited, but I was like, my picture is way better than that. So I went back in the wintertime and got the picture. And if you actually go to the Conspire website, I think you'll see both the summer night and the winter.
Wait, so you went back in the wintertime?
Yeah.
I thought you photoshopped. Didn't you do that?
I wish I was that good at Photoshop.
No, I thought you did do it like all like winterized.
I did, but I actually went in the winter and took
the
picture.
But you did Photoshop the winter one.
No, I actually went in the winter and like took a picture of it. I'm actually, we'll probably edit this out, but I'll actually go show you the picture in the winter.
I thought you customized that photo or Photoshop that photo to be a winter one.
No, I actually went back because my idea was I had this grand idea like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture for every season.
That one.
And like.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
I
thought that was all Photoshop.
No,
though.
It's a different perspective. That's just a long exposure of the winter, so everything looks very glistening and white and everything like that. So. But anyhow, that's my picture on that.
I thought you said that was fake. But
to this day, I actually still like long exposure a lot. I think it's great for water.
Yeah, I don't do much of it anymore. Like it's funny. Like the next picture is different, but I do have some long exposure.
Yeah,
I raved about. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
I think it's really good when you're doing anything with water, and of course, portraits and stuff don't really lend to that much. But for doing landscape photography, when I was down in Tennessee, I did a lot with the waterfalls, and it just makes the waterfalls look better. But anyhow, what's your next?
My next photo is a classic photo of Dizales.
I hate that picture so much.
And I love this photo so much. Like it's so funny. But like I said, 100 clarity, and I was like, I was done with it. Like, that's all I did.
And if we want to,
and like, it's got some good like depth. Like, you know, you're like in the third, and it's like
no, you have
basic.
you know? Lead lines going down the thing. You got lights in the background.
And this is a kit lens. I remember like my the Nikon 3400, I think.
Okay.
And it was like the 70 to 200 kit lens with like, I don't know what it was.
It was
like
a 4.6 aperture.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
So, yeah.
But like when you zoomed in, it was like boom, mad blur. Yeah. So like I didn't understand that at the time, but I was like, this is the lens, like, you know. So I was able to get what I thought was a good shot back then.
What's so funny about that picture, and I think we just recently had a conversation about this, is that you're like, you always say, oh, I wish I would have dressed better. Like, I always say that, and you're like, you always say that for all your stuff. But
can you say that for this?
Point. I don't know. Obviously, I just never go with the intention of being in front of the camera, and of course, just because it's the two of us, it happens sometimes, and I regret it every time. But
that
like,
is funny. Because what we got here, we got.
We're not going. This is not a fashion critiquing. This is a
right. We'll move on. We'll move on to your next one.
We'll just go on to another picture. This is one of the first photo meets I did. And I had no clue what I was doing.
Right?
Yeah, it was Hartford. The first time I ever really took the camera out to use it somewhere. And the photo meets are great because you get a chance to kind of like see compositions and how other people do compositions. Yeah. And then after the fact, when you get to see people post their stuff on Instagram,
see how they
actually made that picture work. I didn't make this picture work. Obviously, I didn't know. The biggest thing is I didn't know how to do editing. I did have it in the thirds or whatever, but a lot of blue. There was graffiti everywhere. I think I did high contrast on the ground to try to like make it all pop. But then she's too dark, too many shadows. But again, it's a starting point. Yeah. I don't regret. Photo meets taught me a lot. And I actually talking about your whole trust in the process, I made a lot of mistakes at photo meets. Yeah. Of having too high exposure or trusting in like my live feed and then switching over to iView and things happen.
I think photo meets are like great, like definitely. Just a network, but then like you got like 6 or 7 photographers like not like fighting over each other, but like could get in each other's way and stuff. So it's more like once I got like more, I guess like talented and like knew what I want
or comfortable, I think too.
Exactly, yeah. And it was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. And it's like the photo meets were just more like a network purpose because I wasn't really going to get the shot
or just
kind of
like
really
it gives
wanted.
You a chance to be out there taking pictures without the pressure of, hey, I want 5 to 10 pictures from you. You're like, you could walk away and not like show a single picture.
Yeah,
and you're okay
just go MIA.
Yeah, exactly. Ghost them all.
Let's see this next one. So this one is a long exposure, and this is like I went by myself. Just went on the top of like Bridgeport parking garage, and like set to like 10-20 second shot or whatever.
Yeah, because I don't remember being with you on this.
And
picture.
I thought like this was so cool, and I think I have another one too.
It's so funny though because you look at it,
not those,
and like everything's so blurry.
Yeah,
like your camera must have been moving. You didn't have it on.
But you see how it's like,
yeah,
like it's so funny how like all the lines are like not sharp, So like at the time I was like, dude, this is sick. And then, like obviously I did some type of editing, like change the lights or something. But it was still like I thought it was a great photo. And like now,
it's not bad. I'm totally gonna look for this one picture now that.
Didn't I tell you to do this last night?
No, you did, but now you reminded me of one particular picture. I'm going to talk about it because I know this picture and I know you know this picture, and I'll find it so you can put it on there for people to look at.
Yeah, we'll look for it.
That picture we took at the train station when we were doing light writing. Do you remember that? And I put D-Mex with a flashlight, and you had me sitting on the train. I'm pretty positive it was you that was taking the picture. I could be wrong, but
I've
vaguely remember because we were trying to write with the flashlight, and I wrote D-Mex.
Stratford,
and I was like sitting on the thing, and people were like, "Oh, that's so cool" and everything. And now I look back, and I'm like, "It's such a cheesy picture."
Yeah.
But it was fun though. Again,
so
it's just finding the principles of like working with light, seeing what you can do, working with shutter speeds and everything. And that's part of, again, going back to what you said to kind of make a full circle, trusting that process. I don't know if you have more pictures you're
I have one more.
We can look at that first before the final
Okay, so this is
like that picture.
It's just so funny. So this is I think the Freedom Tower, right? So it's funny. So like I said, the preset that I did with the Beetle, like I did like a regular preset, but then I did something crazy and just made it so like zombie life, like pink sky, which I actually printed this out like maybe I don't know 3 feet by 5 and like a nice like poster. And it was like decent, and I mean, just like I just was so proud of it at the time.
That looks like a movie poster, to be honest. But if you ask me for
I don't know which one.
I like that one better because there's
you can see more of like the sun too. Like it's more color, but it was one of those presets where I was like boom, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
I mean,
like
it does look apocalyptic to a certain way.
Well, this one looks more because it's like darker.
That looks like it happened already.
But, yeah. This is before the Yeah.
The before and afters.
Exactly.
But I definitely see it though, as far as what, like I was saying with the process, you can see where you messed up, or when you're trying these things, they don't necessarily relate. Maybe the picture's okay, but you can use the thought process of what you did into later pictures. And I think that helped out with the slow shutter speeds, learning how
I think everything is a process, but then like you got the learning process, getting ready process, but
and editing. I mean, that's a whole nother factor that we're not really addressing as far as learning how to edit. It's definitely come a long way for a lot of those things, because I think overall though our compositions weren't bad. It was just more how we edited it and
just over time
took it to the next step.
Over time.
But
so I know this isn't on our script.
Okay.
But like, what would you say?
By the way, this is a full worded script.
Do you have any regrets starting out? Any regrets going forward? Like what? Like where you're at right now?
Okay.
And like obviously, if you were to tell look back at your old self, starting out photography, do you have any regret?
No, I don't think so. I think I think I pretty much did it the way I best could have, and even
you
now,
wanted to.
Yeah, I still have a lot to learn, as far as like going into it. But a lot of it was through experience, and a lot of it was just like because I will say this, and I don't want to go too off tangent, but I didn't spend tons of money about going to photography school, or I think I did one course on lighting, which was very, very helpful. The photographer that did the course, it was like exactly what I needed for using flash and stuff. But for the most part, I was able to learn everything through the school of YouTube and working with others and learning that way. So I feel like I took the right approach of a little bit more experience and real life training than trying to do a whole lot of like book and schooling type deal. And it worked for me. And it's expanded. I feel like there's so much more I'm going to get into this winter. I'm going to be working a lot more with flash and everything, but I have no regrets on how I got to where I'm at or what I did in the past. I think I've done everything pretty good and followed a path that pretty much worked for me.
Yeah. I think for me, like, it's almost like no regrets.
So that means you do regret things or you don't?
So it's funny because I don't have any regrets, but there would be some things that I would change. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think with me trusting process, I did take the right steps at the right time. And even now, so I'm getting more better at that, but I wish I would have kind of like waited to actually upgrade the body, just because a lot of it does come into editing, but it did help me too, which it does the gear that the next episode. Yeah, we're talking about the gear, but still, like, I wish I would have waited to upgrade rather than do it at when I did it. Yeah. But still, like, no regrets. You know what I'm saying? Like, just there's nothing to. And then also, I was gonna mention that like with being tall or go to school, like, graduated from YouTube University, man. Like, I
fully believe in it. And not only just for this, but in a lot of things. I'm working with music producing stuff right now that I know nothing about.
University, man. That's where it's at.
The Google and YouTube will teach you everything you need to know. And then when you don't, you're like, it must not exist.
Oh, and one thing I was going to say too is that, like, I wish I would have rented my gear first. Which that was kind of going to our, like, our next episode of, like, our next
we'll say
best
that,
advice. Yeah.
But like, let's do that. So, best advice you would give to someone starting this process now. Obviously,
you go first.
I feel like people listening to us, seeing what we're about. We're going to talk more about photography and different gear and like the business side of it and all that kind of stuff. We'll touch on these different things. But on the go, if you're like someone starting brand new, what would be something that you would actually benefit from, of knowing that maybe you wouldn't know at all? And I'll be honest, as of this particular moment, I don't know what my 30 seconds is going to be. So if you have something and you're ready, go for it.
Trust the process. Well, no, because that is like, that's
30 seconds, man. It was 30
like,
seconds.
I like, if like, almost like if you were to, like I said, like if you were to tell your like 3 years ago self or whatever, like, I would just continue to tell you that trust the process, like, just you will see improvement. Just it'll happen in, maybe not the time frame that you'd want, but you will get there eventually, and that's what I keep telling myself now. So I'm just going to keep telling myself that.
Yeah. I would say for me, I took a while to get going, I guess. And I think if I can break it down to, well, there's a few different things, but if I'm going to break it down to one thing that I feel like would really help is to say yes to certain things, or just basically everything that gets you out there using your camera. I mean, if you're out there taking pictures of your grass or bugs around the yard or whatever, that's great. You're using your camera, but you'll have opportunities come your way and you may not be fully prepared. But as long as the person knows that you're not a professional photographer, or that you are a semi-professional, and they know what level you're at, and they've given you the opportunity, go for it. You're going to expand your knowledge. You're going to expand your experience. You may network a little bit, but you're always, in the whole trusting the process thing, you're going to make mistakes or not, but you're going to learn from it. And I feel like if you don't say yes to certain opportunities that come your way, if you're really trying to, and it really expands everything from photography to any creative to any skill, if you don't take those opportunities that come your way and you stop yourself, you're never really going to fully learn. So it's take the advantage of those opportunities, say yes, think outside your box, get outside your comfort zone, and work with something that you'll never know what you're going to learn. So that would be my tip, because I never really did
30 seconds.
That would be that was 30 seconds, right? Yeah, that was definitely 30 seconds. It wasn't no 45. But that would be my take on it. Go for something like that to really help you out and expand.
But when I'd be trust the process and just rent lenses, stuff like that. Try stuff out. Try things new. But
so we appreciate anybody who's tuned in this long and listened to us for the last 40 minutes or whatever it be. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to do a couple of these episodes, and the next one we're going to talk about is our gear. So, and it's going to be kind of interesting because Miguel's definitely on a more simplistic side of things, and I have a very more extensive set of gear, but we're able to accomplish what we need to with the gear we have. So depending on where you even lie in that, it may be beneficial for you just to see what we have. In the meantime, definitely check us out on our Instagrams. Again, yours is
MIG_04.
And then mine is Conspire Visuals for the business, and Dieselez for my personal account, which is more landscape. So check us out, give us feedback, hit us back with whatever thoughts you have on your thoughts on the process, maybe some questions on gear coming up, your thoughts on our name of this podcast, the Mirrorless Podcast.
Open to changing
we're still in this first season. We're still trying to figure out what we want to name it. So definitely appreciate any feedback you have. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
And also, if you're trying to rent gear, lens rental, we'll put a link down below. Plug that.
All right. We'll see you in the next episode.